good, people? It's your boy, Chris Gray.
And it's your homeboy, Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. And we have a couple guests in the building.
Hi there. Hello and welcome. We're a couple of guests from the Black and Snerdy Podcast, the only podcast where two sexy black nerds get together to shoot the shit. I am Mo, a.k.a. Kid Licorice.
And I'm Odie.
And together we are the aforementioned Snerds here on the No Rhyme or Reason podcast.
We back.
And we have an incredible topic for you today. In the meantime, while we were out on our little hiatus, we had some classic albums that we showed you, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that transpired around those moments. And about a week ago or so, about a week ago, Tuskegee University, their president, sent out a message to all students saying the dress code is shifted a little bit. Ban on bonnets, ban on durags, no cell phones in class. And that is kind of how the internet took this story and ran with it. So we're going to talk about some of those issues, what really happened, what the policy says, what we think about it. And then we're going to talk about what we would do if we were students and what we would do if we were the president of the university. So I think kind of the backstory, right? The issue and people sort of like pontificating about this, whether or not black folks specifically should be wearing durags, bonnets in public, at universities, anywhere really, has been the bulk of the conversation. But when I look at it and I compare the conversation to the policy has been out for a year. So most of this issue is a little late when it comes to the news story itself, but also the policy doesn't read the same way that people are taking it, or that ways that folks have talked about it in the press or in articles. And so the dress code policy, this comes from their 2025-26 student handbook. And on page 142, the following guidelines are established. Dress standards at Tuskegee University require that students are dressed in good taste at all times. Students are not permitted to wear sleepwear outside of the residence halls. Men are not permitted to wear headwear that includes durags, stocking caps. Durags is spelled interestingly, but okay. Bandanas, baseball caps, or any other head paraphernalia inside of buildings.
What?
Women are not permitted to wear baseball caps inside of buildings. Men are required to wear their pants on their waist, no sagging pants in academic facilities. Any style of dress that distracts or takes away from teaching, learning process in the classroom will not be permitted. Students are expected to dress in a neat manner and make the appropriate selections for the time, occasion, and place. So, first I'm going to start with our guests. What are your thoughts about this issue?
Odie, how about you ladies first?
Oh, thank you.
Because I'm a Southern gentleman.
You got it.
I think that there's some things in the overall handbook and the things that have come out in the news, such as like the no cell phones in class, whatever. I feel like that's fine. And in their dress code, saying that they would like students to dress appropriately for whatever the occasion is, also makes sense. But I still think that it is an extreme overcorrection to stop students from wearing things on their head, going to class and being around in any building. I can't go into a building with a hat on. I just feel like that is a lot. And I don't understand why this was happening. Now, perhaps they were having students who were just in Scully's or something and not like paying attention. But I don't know. I think it's a little silly.
As for me, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sure. As for me, I would say that I recognize that, like, on the surface, what is written in the handbook seems like relatively reasonable on the surface. I also can see how it can be considered like a extreme reaction, but a extreme reaction doesn't come from nowhere. I do see it as like a extreme reaction to like the pendulum shift of like a established norm of like very free sort of lax standards that has existed for, I would say, like this generation and the previous generation that we come from. So like I see it as like understandable to have these in place. They could be adjusted, but I don't see it as like ridiculously unreasonable.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think?
I think we make things too standard and then get mad when it shouldn't have been a standard in the first place. And I mean that in a sense, like, speaking of Southern Baptist stuff. So you guys know the white tablecloth, if you've ever been to Southern Baptist church, that is like on top of the communion. So we treat that like it has some sort of reverence for no apparent reason. You know why they started doing that? To keep mosquitoes and bugs off of communion. It was never meant to turn into this whole like reverent thing. It literally had a purpose, the same way that Durags and Bonnets have a purpose of keeping your hair together while you're sleeping. And then we just extrapolated to, well, I'm going to the store. I'm not going to be doing anything with my hair. I shouldn't have to get ready and do all these different things, or even just have like a basic standard of using something that was made for a specific purpose in a specific purpose. It's like, hey, it's Uno. I want to play this how I want to play it. So let me double stack and things. And we just end up in more conversations where it's like, you're playing the game wrong, technically, but you're just choosing to do so because that's what you want to do. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I have some other feelings that are a little bit that haven't been said yet. I think I'm the only one in this space right now that attended a traditional white university, and my classmates, even the athletes, even the black athletes, got to show up to class however they wanted to. There was absolutely no standard set for how people showed up to class necessarily. Obviously, if there was something, kind of distracting, if somebody, was way too revealing and things of that nature. But I was an art student, so we had nude models, so that was the thing. Regardless, I think you were supposed to show up that way. If you weren't supposed to show up that way, people probably would have called it out, right? It would have been called out by a professor. And so I think my experience as a scholar at that University of Arkansas, a lot of people got away with a lot of things that I necessarily wouldn't have gotten away with being a Fulbright scholar at that university. Whether it be in being on time to class, whether it be how they dressed when they came to class, whether it be showing up to class, like all those things were issues that I experienced. And so I believe that while Tuskegee's policy is reasonable, because you know where you're going to before you show up there, I don't think the widespread standard is a reasonable comparison. You know what I mean? I don't think we can sit here and be like, across the board, this is how you show up to class, or you won't be able to perform in life. You know what I mean? That's just kind of my point of view and my way to kind of think about it. And so I guess I'm curious, are there any other kind of thoughts or lingering things? And this is kind of like open free space, so folks can chat however they want. And the last thing I'll say before I kind of open it up just a little bit is Tuskegee University having a connection to the Tuskegee Airmen in that history, I wonder if that prestige has something to do with the hats situation, because a military thing is that you can't wear hats indoors. So I wonder if that history has anything to do with that standard. But I there's no way for me to tell, because I don't have any documentation to prove it. So yeah, open the floor.
One thing that I was seeing a lot online was people bringing up pictures of, our honorable ancestors throughout the years, of Black people wearing maybe not a do-rag, but a scarf of some kind, a head wrap. Like, you may not be wearing, a scarf, like a hijab or something. However, we have a variety of type of head coverings that we've worn for a variety of different reasons, whether it was by choice or by force. And I think that these situations, I feel like a lot of time, are stemming from respectability politics, because the idea that you can only be professional if you are looking a certain way. That's the whole reason why, when we're talking about our hair, that we have the Crown Act. Because for a long time, if you had locks, if you had natural hair, or anything that someone deemed unprofessional, then you would be maybe fired or given a talking to, or not hired in the first place. And I think things like this bother me, because of the fact that I don't think a student should have to be judged and policed in a classroom. I could understand saying, okay, you can't come to class nude to English 101, but like, how is my hat or a scarf impacting my learning? If I had to wake up 3 hours ahead of time just to untwist my hair, that's going to cause me more issues in class than me coming up with my headscarf on.
Word. That's a great place to kind of continue. Any like kind of follow up for that?
The only thing I would say is like, we're going to get to it when we get to the student part. So I'll pause that and talk about how we'll move as a student.
Okay. I think my perspective is, there's this thing about respectability politics as like really strong within the conversation about this online. And that also showed up in many of the articles that were written about this issue.
Yeah.
And I believe that is very present, right? White supremacy culture is supremely present throughout all the things that we kind of do in life. Simultaneously, I know that our culture cares about dressing, how we appear out in the wild, so to speak. Me less, I don't care much about it because I'm autistic. So that's just how I'm cooked. And but outside of that, I think a lot of people care about their appearance, and they care a lot about how other people appear as Black folks out in the streets. And so I get it why there's a lot of big feelings. Mo, what do you like? What do you think?
Yes, there is a element of like respectability politics that's like embedded within this discussion. Like, I get that. But like I said earlier, like, I see this just as like a very natural reaction to like the extreme that has occurred. Like, let me elaborate on that just a little bit. Like,
yeah, please.
Like decades ago, let's say, like, and I'm not trying to be flippant about it. I'm a comedian. I just am flippant with words. Let's say Martin Luther King era, very black and white, very conservative. Like, everybody was, just in suits, wearing slacks, and, just that was the sort of like attire at hand. And, the next generation after that was a little bit more like liberal from that, not necessarily just, dressing up in slacks and a whole full suit or anything like that. I'm not just going to go to the mall on a Tuesday at 4 p.m. And just straight up like a suit. Like, I'm going to wear a polo shirt or a T-shirt or something like that, And I think like every sort of generation from that has gotten a little bit more liberal, a little bit more freer, I would say. That's more of a better word, with like the public image, where what they're comfortable with, to the point where now, like, the standard is just like dressing for comfort, like maximum comfort. And like that has, and I understand the appeal of that, and that, like, on the surface, again, that sounds reasonable, but that's now also being applied in like professional senses as well, you know? And so I just see what this policy is as just like a relatively understandable, if I don't necessarily agree with all of it, push back to like getting to a point of, let's establish some at least professional standards. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I grew up taking off my hat before I walk into a building, again, just because I was a Southern guy. But like that is no longer established anymore. I see how that is just a reasonable request.
Yeah, it's sort of like let's return back to a time where everybody is not wearing yoga pants and sweatpants everywhere. You know what I mean? I feel you. I feel you. So maybe we should continue to kind of move forward. What would we do if you were a student in the game? Like, I personally think that this situation, if you're signing up for a specific university, you should know the policy before you go there. And so, yeah, where are you at with that? Maybe we start with Odie again.
If I was going to go to Tuskegee and they said I got this, I would probably choose somewhere else. And I only say that because when I was applying to Howard, and I was applying to other HBCUs as well, and one HBCU that I refused to apply to was Hampton, because they were very strict on dress code, on all these other, like, you know, your curfew and things like that, the way your hair was. And I didn't like that because I felt like it was very outdated. But if I did go to class, I'd probably come dressed up as their mascot, the golden tiger, and put on a durag and see whether or not they kicked me out of class for showing school spirit. But I'm also like a rebel, so I would 100% do everything that I could to piss them off, because I think that it's annoying and silly. And like, I also would just purposely get a 4.0, and in my graduation photo, I'd be wearing a durag.
I'm sure also you would have a boombox blaring Beyonce's Freedom while you were doing all of this
every
as well.
time. I would just boop.
Yeah.
Yo, really quick. These images keep popping up in my head every time, like, somebody uses a metaphor or an analogy. When you said Martin Luther King era, I was just like, wait a minute. There was a time where I just thought everybody lived in black and white because of the photos.
Yeah.
Facts. This is no lie.
Big facts.
There was no color in the world until the 80s.
No.
Yeah, like TV was black and white as well. It was just like, yeah, of course it makes sense that like I Love Lucy was black and white, because everything was black and white back then.
Yeah.
Duh.
Polaroid invented color.
Yo, this is... No, I have not an original thought ever. I don't have any original thoughts.
Let's move to Mo. What do you think about, like, if you were a student?
Oh, me?
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to ask a clarifying question. If I was a student now going to Tuskegee, or if I were a student like when the time when I did go to college and I had to go to Tuskegee, to clarify.
Let's go with today.
Okay. If it was me today as a student, it would two thoughts. One, like I agree that like I signed up for this, you know? Like, yeah, I probably didn't read the whole terms and conditions, because who fucking does? But like,
approved.
Once that's presented to me and like I'm already here, I kind of just have to go with it and just be like, it's fine. You know, like if this is what it is to get an education, like, you know what? Sure, why not? Like I could, you know, like it doesn't. I'm very flexible, so like it doesn't really bother me one way or no how. Like if it ultimately gets me to the goal of what I'm trying to achieve. And also, secondly, if I was going to school today, realistically, I'd probably just be saying 6, 7 all the time for no reason.
Truth. What about you?
First off, like I think Odie has the max petty, but I am like the sneaky petty because I did this in high school, right? So I would be the person who I take it off in class, but literally as I'm walking through the threshold of the door, hat back on, pants back down. Like, so you can see me following the rule to the T and doing what I want exactly where I can. Because you think you're going to change everything. No, I'm just following your rule. You said I could do this here. Like I used to look at my principal in high school, walk outside, just like in the open area where lunch was, and put my hat on. I'm outside. I can wear a hat. You can't control that. I'm not wearing it inside. Like I'm not touching you to death with this rule. Because that's me.
Did we have a hat rule?
Yeah. 1,000%. We had a hat rule. You remember the tall tee rule? She thought she was going to stop us from wearing tall tees.
Wow. I don't remember any of these rules. The only rule I remember, right? So I'll go into if I were a student. The only rule I remember is I couldn't wear earrings during graduation.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was the whole thing.
But the issue is I just got my ears pierced prior to graduation as my graduation gift. And so I wore those earrings. And outside of that, if I were a student today, I'm kind of like Mo, but like it really doesn't bother me. I'm going to go to class. I'm going to do my thing. I'm paying for this tuition. It is what it is. And I'll be free on my own time, quite honestly. It doesn't make that big a deal for me.
I like how me and Odie are just the rebels.
I just have one more thing to say about this.
Please.
Because I do feel strongly as a woman who has to do her hair that I may not walk out the house in a bonnet or something all the time. But I feel like if I'm going to my 8 a.m. class, there's no one that can tell me that I have to go and spruce up for this class when I'm going to go and come home. That's not and if I choose to look like a ragamuffin, that's my choice. Okay, whatever judgment someone decides to put on me because of that, that's my choice. That's me. So why I just hate the idea of somebody else policing someone else's body autonomy, even in that small way, when it's not hurting them. And it's not like these are children. They're not middle schoolers. Yes, we need to set a standard then. But as a college student and an adult, you trying to tell me what I can and cannot wear? No, I don't like that.
And I hear what you're saying. But like, I think here's the sort of sinister part about the rules that was explained in the PDF. There's that line that specifically says like, or anything that's considered distracting. You know what I mean? Like literally, so that covers so many things that could be distracting, including what you just described as like coming to school, going to class at 8 a.m. looking like a bum. Like if that could be considered distracting.
Why is that distracting someone? If I'm clean, I'm showered, only thing that is I'm in sweatpants, a hoodie, and a bonnet. I'm not coming there reeking of sewage. That's distracting. You're going to tell people we need to check your armpits to make sure you have on aluminum deodorant before you come into class, because that's distracted me many a time. But
that is a problem in the world.
That is definitely a problem in the world.
Like, I just feel like when we start, I understand having dress codes for certain occasions, but I feel like something as small as class that you should be able to have more freedom unless there's a special event happening in class. You're going to a field trip or something, a speaker, but just every day, like I can't wake up and go to the calf without putting down my 30-inch bust down, like flat ironing and all that. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, maybe I have to work after school. Maybe I keep my head wrapped up because I know, like, in the heat, it's not going to last me all day long. And I got to go to work later on to my internship where I do have to dress professionally. And I would like to hold it for that or whatever the reason, because I'm choosing to do that with my own body.
It's all negotiable. They had, like, it's an extreme policy to an extreme standard. Anything could be negotiable, like, to meet in the middle.
And yeah. I just still feel like this is going to impact the women on the campus or the femme presenting people on the campus more, because everything is, as a girl who's always flagged for some kind of dress code violation, anything could be a distraction.
Yeah.
Your socks, like anything.
Yeah. Odie, you raise a good point. And I think one of the thoughts that I have to kind of like combine what y'all have just said, they say in the handbook that you can bring this to the dean of students and bring up disputes, right? So not only can you ask questions about the policy, but you can also potentially dispute it. And I think if students felt strongly enough, they could just go and advocate for themselves, especially for those specific issues dealing with women's concerns or anybody's concerns that may be particularly like in a specific group or class of folks. When I think about the president and what we would do if we were the president, one thing that comes to mind is I struggle a little bit with the messaging. The only reason why I struggle with the messaging a bit is because I don't know what the email said, and I am curious about how they are preparing people or getting people ready for these types of dress codes before the requirement is put in place. You see what I'm saying? So, like, all right, if they have a plan in place and say, all right, we want to make a bunch of productive Black professionals that show up to their next stage in life looking and acting this way, I am curious about what their preparation plan with freshmen and new students that come into the door is to help them understand that standard. I say the same thing as a middle school teacher. I say it to the principal. We can't expect what we don't teach to our students. And if we say X middle school is about this and we move like this, we need to teach people how to move like that. And we also need to get the buy-in for the why, right? Their why has to be internalized or at least kind of merged with our whys in a sense. And so I'm curious, like, as president, what would y'all do? And I'll give it to the guests first. As president, what would your rules be?
All right, as President eBay, I would keep a rule around, cell phone usage, coming to class on time, things like that. But as far as dress code, I would make the dress code specific to specific occasions, galas, convocation, graduation, etc. And for if I felt like we still needed to do more in order to help these students understand how to dress professionally, whether in school or out, then I would either put a uniform in place and have, like, at least the freshmen or new students wear this uniform, have it included in their tuition, and also provide, like, professional, professionalism classes. I don't remember if we had anything like that at Howard, but I do know that we often had, like in our freshman orientation classes, like it was like you would have to either dress a certain way. They would tell us to come in with things. They would show us examples. We would have conversations as to why this or that would or would not be deemed acceptable. And we had a great career development office. Shout out to Carol Dudley, because she would have a school communications job fair and literally tell you these are things to wear. And I think as a middle school teacher as well, we have a lot of conversations about the uniform. And the uniform is very simple: sweatpants and a shirt. But the kids still have difficulty. But it's like, we will model it. I wear the uniform to school. We're showing them things to wear and talking to them about it constantly. And I think, like you said, we have to have a model and a way to ensure that these kids know what to do, because we don't know where their backgrounds are from, but also have a space for grace for these students who might need extra help. And whether that is funds for clothing, funds for their hair, they're going to open up a salon or a barber that kids can go to get things done to ensure they don't have to wear that bonnet or do-rag, then those are the type of things I would implement to ensure that there's a smooth rollout and remove the respectability politics out of it. So it's just straightforward. This is how we dress in college, in our college, and this is how we're going to help you do that.
Are we done with this podcast? Let's just move on. No, I was kidding. That was great.
Honestly,
that was
how
great.
am I supposed to follow that?
Right. I mean, what do you think? Like, is there anything that you would add, take away, do differently?
No, I would actually do something slightly different. Like, I loved everything that you said, and I think you have an excellent point. Like, for me, if I'm president, Tuskegee College, here's what I would do. Literally, like, I love, we both went to Howard University, in case that wasn't clear by my obnoxious tank top. And also the thing that I'm about to do, HU. There we go. Here's the thing. Like, just like with Howard and how we had mandatory swimming classes, that was like a mandatory thing that everybody in school had to take. And yeah, that's a conversation that we can have in a little bit.
Stereotype breaking class. I love it. I love it.
There's a lot of rumors as to why. We still don't know.
Yeah. But I think that, like, there is something to be said for at least having like a mandatory class or two of like professional attire, professional wear, professional decorum, professional, like whatever the home ec equivalent of just, Black teenagers and young adults learning how to move in the professional world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like just having a class just based on like what to wear and how to create a fucking resume and maybe create a goddamn email that doesn't have some obnoxious nonsense in it like tvboi@hotmail.com. Yes, that's a real email that exists. It was my very first email. But second, while having those classes in place that are mandatory for every student to take, as far as the attire, honestly, why not adopt a tech startup attire? Like, just because it's literally just, if anybody has ever worked at like a startup or a tech firm or whatever like that, it's literally like tops, T-shirts, nice sweater, button down, or blouse without loud or oversized logos.
Right. Bottoms
is literally just dark wash jeans, clean chinos or casual trousers, shoes. They're like clean, low brand, whatever, loafers, what have you. Like it, like, you know what I mean? Like it's still like comfortable attire. It's still manageable attire, but that's still a level of like transition from like the very casual of what you might be used to at least a transition towards the sort of professional attire that you may be seeking in whatever career that you're going to college for.
Word. What about you?
So the first thing that I'm going to do is bring a woman into the room. and ask as many questions that I actually need to understand what policy I'm trying to institute. Because much like Odie says, I think the biggest issue with a lot of these policies is you don't actually factor in the person as much as you're factoring in what you don't like. And with these policies, they're always leaning towards a male type thing. Like, it's like baseball caps. Like, why is she wearing a baseball cap? Like, if I'm talking to a woman and I'm getting the lowdown on all this different information, like, there are so many institutional things that I would change to allow and acquiesce for that. If I'm asking something of you in the same way that she's saying, like, I'm not getting up at 8 a.m. to doll myself up, well, then I'm figuring out, well, what is our meeting point? Like, what can I do to assist you? What can I do to help you? What can I do to bring in that confidence of the thing that I'm trying to do, which is with the classes, create an institutionalized, but create a professional atmosphere for you to be successful. And I don't want that to mess up with your individuality. I don't want that to mess up with other parts of your personality. What I want is consistency, and what I want is an understanding of, like, we don't want the people who just do not care at all to be the people who are running this school. You care. You just don't have time. So let's work on that. Let's allow for the spaces of the things that are going on. So that way there are places where you can feel like yourself. So on top of and adding to what everybody's added, I would add those classes, but I would add a lot more spaces where you can feel represented, because that's why we do the things that we do. That's why we want to wear the shirts that we want to wear, is because there are few places when you start from school till the end where you really get to kind of be yourself, where you're not just being shoehorned into the cyclical nature that school is. So when you say to me, 18, you're an adult, you just told me I'm an adult. For 18 years, like, maybe I went to private school, maybe I went here, I didn't get to wear nothing. Now, at Tuskegee, it's a little difficult in the sense because I know the one friend I knew was ROTC. So you went with an expectation of doing those things and having to wear your suits and everything else. But, like, for me, in terms of creating this expectation, the purpose of it is more important than what we're wearing. And I'm going to make sure that I'm figuring out how to execute that purpose over being a stickler for all of these different things, and make sure that I include the people that are most affected by it, whether it's women at the front, because a lot of these things don't affect dudes as much. It can, but it's still going to be different in so many different ways. So, yeah.
If I was president.
Be elected on Friday.
Right?
And steal money from Haiti on Saturday.
Wow. Oh, nice.
Also,
nice.
One last addendum. Mm-hmm. This is also weird coming from us in our generation as the business casual folks. Like,
from the club,
business, like, we literally were running to Express and H&M and other places to wear combo things of dressed up, and now we have a problem with the dressed up.
Yeah, we were us millennials, at least, were wearing business casual to the club.
Yeah.
I only have one pushback against that.
Please.
The only reason we were wearing the blazers in the club was because of the racist dress codes that these clubs enacted. Yeah. Because they saw what people were wearing and enjoyed. And they said, well, we can't have that riff-raff in here. So you had to find your express dress and heels, looking like you're going to a work meeting, your peplum dress to get into the club. And now we don't have to do that. Like, and those are the things where a lot of our dress codes, if you look back, most of them are due, to some kind of racial or sexist or classist oppression. Like, that is this idea of a standardized dress, because if you aren't dressed this way, you're not good enough. Meanwhile, we see what the wealthiest people in the world wear, and a good amount of time they're not always in like some Chanel attire. They're in sweatpants or t-shirts, or like, it's just that's where the frustration comes from, because everyone isn't being treated equally. It's like, you're poor, so you need to dress better to show that one day you can be a part of the 1% too.
Yeah.
It's never gonna happen.
Yeah, no, you have to literally like dress in a professional way and work yourself to death to earn the right to wear casual clothing in an entrepreneurial sort of sense. You know, you
To
don't
be
just
Elon Musk.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so weird. You think that you could just put on a t-shirt and also be professional? No, you have to be from South Africa and impregnate a bunch of weird people and also be a weirdo in and of himself. Elon Musk is a nerd. I want that to go on record, but not a good nerd. He's an awful, dumb dude.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And, I mean, all right. I'll get into me being president. Also, we have to remember that Tuskegee is private, right? So they can
there's that too.
They can make their own rules. Tuition is definitely going to be a little bit different than public universities, and also how much grant assistance, federal, all those things is going to matter before you're kind of paying that last dime. But ultimately, if I were president of the university, my first question is, what outcomes are you seeking? Right? Because I don't feel like all students need to dress the same way in a homogenous way in order to be successful. There are, you have art students, you have engineering students, you have law students, you have business students, and every one of those circumstances are going to be different for those groups. And so I would probably have a policy for the colleges themselves, right? So the College of Business, the College of Art, the College of Engineering, and ask those students, what are your outcomes? What are you seeking? And have stakeholder conversations with those students about what they're looking for. Also have stakeholder conversations with the professors, right? Because the professors are looking for a certain experience as well. That's where the cell phone policy comes into place, right? You can't be distracting in class in order for me to teach you. And so I think that combination of having those conversations is how I would approach it, and think about that.
I like that a lot, actually, because that's the most sensible. But you've also done a lot of this administrative work, so I can see that you were able to chop that down quite nicely.
People don't need to know who I am. No, I was kidding. leave that for the FBI.
No, I will not leave it to the FBI. Not at all. Free TJ now.
I'm curious. It's been 45 minutes. Let's kind of wrap it up. What kind of final thoughts do y'all have over on that side?
Oh, my turn. Yes. My final thoughts. I think that it is important to instill in our students ways that are going to be beneficial to them as they are moving out of the classroom and into work. I think there's ways of doing that are not pigeonholing students into one specific space and putting them into boxes. And at the end of the day, I want all HBCUs to succeed and all HBCU students to succeed. So, I hope that the students there can use their rights and their voices to push back if they want to, and find something that is going to be a healthy medium for the two. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, for me, I do believe that, like, for any person pursuing higher education and transitioning from just, teenage years of a lifetime spent in grade school, transitioning into the real world and using college as a buffer to learn how to get to that point. I do think that standards should be established. And I also believe that, like, standards can be negotiable as far as, like, finding, like you said, a way to meet in the middle to figure out like the healthy balance of like what is appropriate to impart so that we're setting you up for success versus like what is something that is also easily accessible to help with the transition to get you from here to there without it being overly imposing and like, you know, restricting. Like I just want like an easy accessibility for making that transition. And I also am rooting for all HBCUs in general. Also wanted to point this out. Odie can either back me up or refute me. At the very least, in the School of Communications, all students had to also learn how to take a martial arts class. That was also a mandatory thing.
You did.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. And shout out to everybody in the School of C who understands how weird it was to have a semester where you learn how to swim and also learn Taekwondo.
If you know, you know.
What do you think?
I took Taekwondo.
My last thought is, even with all the stuff that I've said, I come from the Iverson school of what I wanted to do with my life, which is let me have my braids, let me have my tattoos, let me have my earrings. My mother did not, which is why I don't have them, and I'm indoctrinated. But I just want there to be like an actual inquisition to who these kids want to be. Like, who are you? How are you trying to express yourself? How can I come alongside you? And if I'm trying to find professional ways to do that, be able to do that in a way that is like beneficial to you and your growth versus just trying to talk down to somebody and make, again, like we said, make these standards that are just there for whatever racist, sexist reasons that they were. Let's break from that and allow kids to have a little bit of freedom, but like understanding where they're trying to go with it.
I don't have any last thoughts. Y'all said it all. This is a good conversation. I want to appreciate our guests. Black and Snerdy Podcast, Kid Licorice and Odie, for being here. Can you close us out?
Yes,
I'm sorry. I will put a link down in the description to all of their social medias, all of their work online, so you can go check them out. Especially check them out live when they go live on Instagram and YouTube and all those other places online. And that's.
Shout out to each one of y'all. What do y'all think? Let us know down in the comments. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you be notified for every time that we drop. And we'll see you in the next piece. A 1 and a 2. And peace.